This is a unique workaround that allows free-to-play players to gain access to valuable Illuvials. Is Illuvium pay to win? Do free-to-play gamers have a chance? How is Illuvium different than traditional games when it comes to this concept? I'll be answering these questions and more. I'll also have 2 private beta 2 spots to give away, and I'll be sharing with you how you can win these. So make sure you stay to the very end of this video. While doing my research, I watched a handful of videos comparing free-to-play and play-to-win. And all of these videos look the same. They would choose a game that they want to play, they'd play a little bit with no purchases, then they'd play with in-game purchases, and they'd compare the results at the end. But Illuvium, being a crypto game built on the blockchain, adds a whole new layer to the free-to-play versus pay-to-win concept. To answer these questions, we'll have to dive deeper into the gameplay, time versus money, the peer-to-peer economy, sponsorships, and how all of these fit together. So when it comes to the gameplay, Illuvium will be a free-to-play game, and we'll touch on this a little bit more later. In Web 2, pay-to-win was generally determined due to the raw power a player was able to obtain by simply paying for it. Some in-game assets were unobtainable without these purchases. And some Illuvials will be very powerful and rare, making them very valuable assets. But balancing in this game is based on something called mastery points. For example, some of the strongest Illuvials in the game might require 100 mastery points to put onto the board, but with that same 100 mastery points, you might be able to put 2 or 3 other Illuvials on the board to balance out that power. If a whale wants to purchase a very rare Illuvial, then they can do that. But they do have to take into consideration that when it comes to a match on the battle board, whether it be in player versus player or in the overworld, it's going to require more mastery points. A couple key factors to take into consideration for each different part of the game is that in the overworld, more mastery points used will make the Illuvial harder to capture. So the most valuable Illuvials might not even be the smart play in some situations. In the Ascendant Arena, all Illuvials are normalized, and this goes for their stages and their individual stats. So if there's, say, a whale out there that either spent a lot of time in the game or a lot of money to acquire 9 ram fees to fuse into 3 ram fights and then into a ram fire. And there's also someone out there who was just fortunate enough to catch 1 ram fee. When it comes to the Ascendant Arena, those 2 actually balance out perfectly. The 1 ram fee can be used as a ram fire, and obviously the ram fire can be used as a ram fire. And none of the individual stats are even taken into consideration. They're all set to a baseline. Now the Leviathan Arena is a little different. You actually have to play with the Illuvials that you own. Their individual stats are taken into consideration, as well as the stage of the Illuvial. This may be one part of the game that is pay to win, but I don't think most normal players are even going to care to get into this aspect of the game, and they'll be stuck with the Overworld and the Ascendant Arena. Now, Illuvium Zero doesn't really fit into this whole discussion, but just for the sake of bringing it up, we'll say that it is free to play. There will be a free to play version, but in order to actually earn crypto from farming the fuel, you will need to purchase a plot of land. And when it comes to the gameplay, having money to spend will give you more options, but it won't directly lead to you winning more player versus player matches in the Ascendant Arena or capturing better Illuvials in the overworld. So time versus money. In this game, you'll have Illuvials tier 0 through tier 5. So the value of a tier 1 through a tier 5 Illuvial is a product of time and money. And tier 0 Illuvials are a product of time alone. Tier 0 Illuvials will be available to capture at game launch for free. These tier 0 Illuvials, just like any other Illuvial, will have 3 stages. It will take 3 stage 1s to fuse to a stage 2, and 3 stage 2s to fuse to a stage 3. This means you'll need to capture 9 stage 1 Illuvials in order to get to that stage 3. Now you're going to have to put time into the game to get to that point. And the time you put into that game means you will have a stronger and more valuable Illuvial, even though it's a tier 0 free Illuvial. Although a stage 3 tier 0 Illuvial won't have a ton of value, it should have enough value to be sold on the market for a small amount of Ethereum. And this is how you start compounding for free. You take that ETH, then you can go out and buy some fuel and shards and try to catch some tier 1 Illuvials. After a while, you can work up to tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, and eventually to tier 5. A free-to-play player will have to dump a lot of time, especially early on in this game, but should be able to generate a small amount of crypto that can be compounded like a snowball. The time versus money concept here means that money can get you the Illuvials in a shorter timeline, but if you put in the time, you can obtain anything in this game that money can buy. So the economy. I'm going to assume one big thing when talking about the game economy, and that is that Illuvium will truly be of AAA quality, and gamers will want to play and spend money in this game. We don't know for sure yet, but all indications point to this being the case at some point. It's actually the gamers coming into the game who want to pay for higher powered and rare Illuvials that give free-to-play gamers a chance to earn some crypto and compound that crypto within the game. Every time a player chooses to purchase an Illuvial, it'll be on the Illuvidex from another player. Keep in mind that in this game, you cannot buy Illuvials from the game itself. You need to go out in the overworld and catch them. And the sellers of these Illuvials will be rewarded monetarily because of the time they spent in-game. Illuvium is uniquely different than Web 2 games. Peer-to-peer transactions are part of the game. Scarcity and value is built into the game. This is what gives your time in-game and real-world value. And like I said earlier, Illuvials are a product of time. So sponsorships. These are also known as scholarships. I know I've talked a lot about this. The name scholarship is looked at negatively by some people. So I think sponsorships and having a sponsor and a sponsee, I think it makes a lot of sense and I think it sounds a little better. So I'm going to try to start using those words. And because in-game assets in Illuvium are verifiable on the blockchain, these assets can be transferred to other wallets. This is a unique workaround that allows free-to-play players to gain access to valuable Illuvials. These Illuvials are supplied by a sponsor, formerly known as a manager. The reason this works is because there'll be an agreement between the sponsor and the sponsee to split the acquired crypto or NFTs. Both parties win in this partnership. The sponsor gets more in-game resources without having to spend time in the game. And the sponsee gets access to purchase fuel, shards, and Illuvials in order to be competitive and acquire assets that would have otherwise been very difficult for the free-to-play player. This sponsorship or scholarship dynamic does require some level of trust depending on in-game and third-party lending platforms. But in my opinion, if you're going to be a free-to-play player, it just makes sense to find someone to sponsor you. If you're going to put the time into the game, you might as well do it in a way that allows you to earn and acquire resources more easily. This is the part of GameFi that really hooked me to begin with and gets me excited. And I'm going to be talking a lot about this on this channel. And if you ever want to pick my brain on this, you can comment down below or find the link to my Discord and just send me a DM over there. Hey, I forgot to put this in originally. If you want one of those 2 private beta 2 spots, all you need to do is make sure you're subscribed to this channel, make a comment down below that you want it, and what you like most about this YouTube channel. In summary, Illuvium is looking like it will be the first AAA game on the blockchain and being advertised as the first IBG, which means interoperable blockchain game. When it comes to free-to-play and pay-to-win in traditional games, or even play-to-earn and play-to-own in the current crypto gaming market, you can really just throw all of that out the window. Illuvium is going to be something new and very different, and no one truly knows what will come of it because it's something that's never been done before. I get really excited about the unknowns and possibilities in the future of GameFi, especially Illuvium. If you feel the same way, make sure you're subscribed to this channel, like it down below, and let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with my assessment. And I'll catch you on the next one.